Hey everybody, this is Becky from the Seasonal Homestead. We're back again for another pantry tour. I'm really excited to share with you our pantry for this year because we're doing a very full and complete pantry tour. Not only all of the things that I preserved this year, all of the canned goods, all the fermented foods, all the freeze-dried foods, and all the dehydrated foods. I'm going to show you all that. And then I'll also show you our other pantry where we have a lot of our grains and other things. I've never really showed that before, but I figured I'd add it on to this one so you can see what we store for our year's supply of food. Here we go. I'm gonna do the same order as I've done in other years, from like top to bottom and then over to the side. Okay, so to start off, this is black beans. I was gonna look at the top, but I know what that is. This is marinated roasted red peppers. These are ketchup. This is barbecue sauce. This is from a year prior because if you remember, I made barbecue sauce this year and I froze it instead because I do not like a lot of the canned barbecue sauce recipes. So a lot of pickles this year. We have sliced, and then what's that other one called?
Spears. Spears,
yes. And they're all dill. That's just what we prefer. I did a lot of pickles because in years past, we've had a couple of years where we didn't have a very good cucumber harvest at all. So this is to last us 2 years just in case we don't get a good harvest next year. But we actually are going through them pretty quickly already. Spaghetti sauce, we've already started to eat some of these. Pizza sauce, and this one is Sloppy Joe sauce.
A new one.
That's a new one for this year, yeah. Tomato sauce, I just did some big jars of that. So down in here we have salsa. These are all salsa. I do some medium and some mild salsa just because we have different taste preferences in the family. These are a little bit of leftover sliced apples from a year prior. Diced tomatoes. We just do different sizes based on the recipe, and then it also helps because these lids are starting to get more expensive, so we save money by doing the larger sizes. So then this is all applesauce. I did this all this year because we were completely out of the applesauce. So on this side, I put cardboard here this year because in years prior, we didn't put cardboard here. I thought it would be enough to have our potatoes covered from the light, but somehow they still got a little green. So they're in there. A couple sprouting just a little bit. They sprouted a little bit more this year. Even when I pulled them out of the ground, they looked like this. They're kind of maintaining the way they were. But overall, they're still pretty firm, which is good. And then over on this side, all of our onions. I have onions here, onions underneath, a very full thing of onions underneath. And all the varieties are mixed together. I don't know why. I just did it that way. So up here at the top is all of our jams and fruit things. So this is strawberry lemon jam. I make that one every year. It's everybody's favorite. Peach butter, some grape jam. We've already gone through quite a bit of that since I made it. This is also a peach jam, and it's not even canned, but it had a lot of sugar in it, so it's still really good. This right here is pickled beets. This is the first time I've ever done that before, mainly because I'm not a huge fan of beets, but it has been a long time since I've had pickled beets. I remember liking them when I was little, so I made them pickled because I figured if there's any way I'm gonna eat the beets, it's gonna be this way. Here I have cranberry applesauce. This is a new one for us this year as well. It was really, really good. So we're gonna make some more of that. I just haven't gotten to it yet. And then this is just plain cranberry sauce and apple butter here. Vegetable stock. This is all chicken broth here. And then this is ham and bean soup. And also down here, ham and bean soup. We haven't done that before. Then over on this side, this is pork and beans. This is another new one. I did a lot more pressure canning of more ready-made meals this year for convenience, and so that's one of those meals where you just cook up some rice and add pork and beans and then some chopped fresh greens from the garden because we still have a lot of greens in our garden right now. Here we have Cajun cowpea soup, definitely the favorite. We all fight over this one. And some chopped diced chicken. Here is the fermented section, which is why I have all of the bigger jars. It's just easier for me to do it in bigger jars. These are the half-gallon size. So here is some cabbage kimchi. When I made this, we already went through one jar in like one day because the kids really like the regular cabbage kind. We made a lot of the cucumber kimchi because we had a lot of excess cucumbers this year. So we have a lot of those here. And then over here, this is a fermented jalapeno, and it's got some garlic in there and lime zest, and it's really yummy. We use that in soup a lot, or basically anything where we want a jalapeno. This is a cinnamon applesauce, grape juice, and over here this is just some canned sliced peaches. More potatoes and more potatoes down there. We have this room at 45 degrees. Usually we use something called a CoolBot to make this a cold room. All of the foods that are canned do not need to be cold. It's just more of, this was the best space for them, but all of the fermented foods, they do need to be colder. We don't have a basement in our home, our area. It's not good to have a basement, so this was the next best thing for the time being. So that's why the jacket's on, and I'm like starting to get really cold now. Up in here I have apple butter, and then these two shelves are my dehydrated foods, and the bottom two are our freeze-dried foods. So a lot of these dehydrated foods are leftover from last year. Basically some dehydrated sliced squash, a lot of dehydrated sliced peppers, corn. This is freeze-dried parsley. I actually have this in the wrong place. Dehydrated celery tops. This is more of the squash. Tomatoes, peppers. This is leeks, and then peppers and tomatoes. And in here, these are sliced freeze-dried peaches. This used to be full. We got people already breaking into this jar.
Me.
And then more of the diced peaches back here. We just throw these into oatmeal. We actually had some this morning. And more of like the full sliced peaches, freeze-dried strawberries. These are freeze-dried mushrooms. We were able to get some free mushrooms this year from the place where we get our compost. Freeze-dried spinach. This is that pizza sauce. I had a video where I made this. More mushrooms. We got some freeze-dried herbs here like basil. This one's really pretty. This is purple basil. And the freeze dryer helps keep a lot of the color, which is nice. When you dehydrate, it just kind of turns brown. Freeze-dried sliced peppers over there. So in here, these are freeze-dried apples. And at the same time, we did some dehydrated apples just because the freeze dryer is a lot longer of a process and we were trying to go through the apples quicker. Both freeze-dried and dehydrated apples, they taste really good either way. So we did both of those. This is some peach fruit leather. This is what's left of it anyway. And then over here we have freeze-dried chili. I have a video where I made this too as well. And then here we have some additional potatoes. These accidentally got left in our garage, so they started to sprout a little bit more. And then down here, this is more onions here and here. So it was a good onion year. We still have a lot of onions left even after doing all of our preserving, which is really good. So in this area, this is vegetable stock. This is basically like overflow where I couldn't fit it. Turkey stock. I love turkey stock because it has more rich flavor than chicken stock. And then baked beans. This was a new one this year. They actually turned out really good and they taste really good too. So down in here, these boxes are all filled with apples. They're not apples from our trees. Our trees aren't producing yet, so we just got these locally. But I like to have local apples here, and we just keep them in here, and they'll last for several months, and then the kids can just grab fresh apples here whenever they want. So once you walk out of our cold room, this is our other pantry. It's just room temperature in here, but I do keep all of my squash out here because the other pantry is too cold for this. And these would just rot in there. So these are all the pumpkins. I have not turned them into pumpkin puree yet, but I will soon enough. Some of these are ready to. Others look like they could use a little bit more time curing on the shelf. These are beans that I still need to shell and haven't done it yet. It's a good winter thing to do when you don't have a lot going on. This is just some wheat flour. And then I have this is homemade vinegar in there. And then down here, These are what is left of my garlic from this past year. I already planted a bunch of garlic, so it kind of takes away from the supply, but this is what's left. Underneath the garlic, in the crates down here, this is where we keep our sweet potatoes. We have 4 crates here of the sweet potatoes. So up on the top of this shelf, this is where we keep all of the freeze-dried foods that's in the Mylar bags. I found these storage totes to keep them in and to keep them organized. So we're gonna take those down and I'll show you what's in those. So here's the freeze-dried foods that we have. This one is all eggs that we did earlier this spring. We had a lot of new chickens. We had a ton of extra eggs and we freeze-dried them all. And we've actually already been using some of them because our chickens have been laying less. And then in this one, we have freeze-dried ground beef and some freeze-dried chili. And then in this one, we also have more freeze-dried ground beef. We did a lot of that. And that's pretty much it for this one. And then this one is all the freeze-dried, more freeze-dried eggs in this one. Here's some things that I still buy. I'm not going to go through everything here because there's just a lot of individual things, but mainly we still buy some things like store-bought vinegar for canning purposes and store-bought lemon juice, some coconut products. Obviously we don't have coconut here, and this is a dairy substitute for me personally because I have a hard time digesting dairy. And then things like olives, you know, we can't grill those. And some of like the basic baking things, we have all of those as well. And then over on this side, I used to have all of these things in bags, but I cut them all organized and labeled. This is basically all grains and nuts and things for baking. And a lot of these things, if I can't get organic locally, then I will get them from Azure Standard. That's where I get a lot of things like coconut milk powder. I couldn't find that at the store, of course. So when I make bread, I grind some flour and I keep the ground flour in here. Most of it is still in wheat berry form, but this one is like a soft white wheat and the other is a hard white wheat. So those are already ground for that. And then here I don't have a lot of stuff. I do make some homemade mixes. I don't have any right now, but like some cornbread mix. And then a lot of times we'll have homemade granola instead of cereal. We don't really eat cereal except for on holidays. It's like a special treat for the kids. So as an alternative, we do make some homemade granola. This area is not very organized, sort of messy, and it kind of catches everything extra. So we have the butternut squash over on this side, and I really don't know where to go with this because it's like all over the place. Some baking soda here, I keep that in bulk. We use that for cleaning. I have some seeds here, so I keep them out here instead of in the cold room. They store better here. And then this has some wheat in it. This is not frosting. This is a reused bucket. I think this is milk powder. Yeah. And then I'll show you down here on the bottom. We just keep this for our long-term food storage. We have oats, and I actually don't even know what's in the bottom down there. But some things for just in case, and then we have more on the other side. Okay, I told Cam I need to show you guys the one thing that we still buy that is still sort of processed, and that is tortilla chips. We just buy the blue chips. They're organic and they have like 3 ingredients, but it's just one of those things that I have not gone into making myself yet. And we have so much salsa. That's where we use, that's like the kids' big main snack is chips and some of our canned salsa. So the final thing to show you here is underneath. So we have wheat under here, rye, oats. I have steel cut oats, things like buckwheat under here, salt, sugar, and am I missing anything?
Rice.
Rice. Yeah, we have rice. Yeah. That is enough food to last us for a year or 2 or so. So the canned goods, all of that we basically go through in 1 year. None of I hardly have any of that carry over from year to year, maybe like 50 jars or so. You saw the dehydrated food that did carry over a little bit more. This is more of, we use this all the time, so we're constantly rotating through it, but we have enough that if it was not available or something, it could last us a long time without us going to the store or anything like that. I hope you guys enjoyed the tour, and let me know if you have any questions. I'll have Cameron answer them in the comments. Okay, bye.